Tuesday Drive.
Do you watch the New South Wales press conference every day at 11 a.m? Those constantly high numbers of locally acquired cases, I've got to say, is quite depressing. And for some in our community, it's taking a toll mentally. Now, I'm not sure if you caught Saturday's presser, but one of the speakers they had was John Brogden, who is the chairman of Lifeline Australia. And I just want to play you a recap of what he had to say.
Thank you, Brad and Jeremy. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of Lifeline, and particularly about what's happening with respect to mental health for so many people in New South Wales and Australia. The first thing I want to say is in recent weeks we've heard a lot of people talk about a shadow pandemic in mental health. I think it's important to realise it's not in the shadows, it's real, and it is a crisis. The crisis is extending to all parts of Australia, all parts of New South Wales, and to many, many people. What we have seen is a significant increase amongst children and adolescents in their mental health illness, in their suicidality, and in stress and depression and anxiety. There is some silver lining in the cloud, and that is people are reaching out. Last year in New South Wales, there was a 5% reduction in suicide. And bear in mind, 9 months of that year were in the first COVID lockdown. In this year, we've seen no increase in suicides on average across all age groups. So there's good news that people are reaching out and getting the help that they need. I have depression, I have suicidal ideation. I know what it's like to live with mental illness, and I know what it's like to live in mental illness during COVID. It's tough, and people are doing it tough. But there is hope. We are coming, we all hope, towards the end of the lockdown. And one of the best things we can do for people's mental health is get out of lockdown as quickly as possible. In the meantime, there are a number of things people can do to look after themselves. It's really important to keep a routine. Don't stay in bed all day. That won't help you at all. Get up, get changed. It's really critical also that you take advantage of the opportunity to exercise. I sometimes think when we hear the word exercise, people think they've got to do 100 push-ups. I don't think that's what we mean. What we mean is just get out and go for a walk. Walk around the block twice, go down to the park and come back. Just get some sun on your face, some wind on your face, maybe even some rain on your face. But please get out. I can't stress enough how important it is to get out of home and use the opportunity for exercise, to get out and to get some fresh air. That's really important as well. I know this is hard, but try not to catastrophise things because we are getting through this. Gladys Berejiklian's made it very clear, as has Brad Hazard, things will get worse before they'll get better, but they will get better. So we are coming through the other side of this. We need to hang on to the opportunity to see our way through this, and we need to hang on to the hope that we will get there. I know it's hard, it's incredibly difficult. No child, no adolescent has ever lived through a time like this. In fact, most of us have never lived through a time like this. And this is affecting everybody. This is affecting us all in very different ways. So please look after yourself. Please be kind to yourself. And the other important message is don't suffer in silence. Don't think that nobody cares. And don't think you can't reach out for help. Whether it's Lifeline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on 13, 11, 14, we're there to help.
That was John Brogden, the CEO of Lifeline Australia. And the reason I played that was because I want to draw your attention to a very important day that's coming up this Friday. It's World Suicide Prevention Day, and we're all being encouraged to create some hope. Now, joining me on Tuesday Drive is Renee Green, the CEO of Lifeline South Coast. Hello, Renee.
Hi, Stephen.
Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. So tell me, what are we being encouraged to do this Friday?
So the theme of Suicide Prevention Day this year is to create hope through action. So at Lifeline South Coast, we're encouraging everybody who's able to participate in our Out of the Shadows walk. Given the COVID restrictions, we won't be walking as a big group. People will be walking individually or perhaps with their household members. But that walk really is a way to to reflect perhaps on someone you've lost to suicide, to show your support for others who've been bereaved by suicide, and to help bring suicide, I guess, out of the darkness and into the light. So we're pulling down some of that stigma and some of those barriers that people have to reach out for help.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use the word stigma. What do you mean by that? And what stigma is there still in 2021 around suicide?
Look, unfortunately, the stigma around suicide is still very real. It presents in a number of different ways. So some people see needing help or asking for help as a sign of weakness, and we would say that couldn't be further from the truth. Acknowledging that you are experiencing tough times and seeking help for that is one of the greatest signs of strength you can have. There's also some stigma, I guess, and some concern just around talking about suicide. And what we know from the research and the evidence, talking about suicide, asking someone you're concerned about if they're having suicidal thoughts, does not put the idea of suicide into their mind. It doesn't create a risk. What it does is, in fact, open up a conversation where people feel safe to acknowledge those feelings and perhaps get some support from you to reach out to some more professional supports.
And I guess, as we just heard John Brogden just say there, that the support is there. Don't be ashamed to pick up the phone and dial 13 11 14, especially during these times of lockdown that we're all experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So for some people, it'll be the first time, I guess, they're experiencing those real experiences of isolation and loneliness. For others, it might be that they've experienced that from time to time throughout their lives, but because of COVID, the normal ways they cope and manage with that, they're not able to do. So, yeah, we would absolutely encourage people to reach out for help. Of course, 13 11 14 is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But there's also a great range of other services, including places like Kids Helpline, including your GP.
Can you give us a bit of an idea? You just mentioned it before. For those that that may not have reached out to Lifeline before, when someone dials that number, what is the process? What can they expect?
Yep, so what they should expect is their call to be answered by a really highly trained and highly skilled volunteer whose role it is to talk to them about why they've called today, perhaps acknowledge and sit with them in some of that pain they're feeling, but really it's to have a non-judgmental conversation with that person to help them move through that moment of crisis, and where it's appropriate, perhaps link them in with other supports. And what we would absolutely say is you do not need to be, I guess, at your absolute darkest moment and be considering suicide to call. You are welcome to call at any time for any type of crisis or distress that you're feeling, or if you're concerned about a loved one who you think might be experiencing a crisis.
Now, we heard John Brogden mention just before on Saturday, actually, that there has been an increase in the calls to Lifeline. Are we seeing that across our area as well, Renee?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout the region that we look after as Lifeline South Coast, which is Helensburgh right down to the Victorian border, that coastal strip, we know our communities have been having a really tough time for the last couple of years. We've been through some horrendous bushfires, COVID-19, there's been floods and there's been other disasters in amongst it. So the compounding effects of that are really taking their toll on our community. But as John said, the real silver lining in this for us is that people are talking about it more, are acknowledging it more, and are reaching out for help.
Now, our Out of the Shadows walk, which is, of course, this Friday, can it be done at any time, or do we have to be up at a certain time?
Look, I guess the concept behind the walk is to start before the sun rises. Right. So symbolically, you are in the dark and you are walking into the sunrise to shine a light on suicide. But of course, you can do it at any time, and it's just, I guess, to take some time in your day to reflect on what you could do, on how you could support others, perhaps remember someone who's been touched by suicide. I'll be getting up at 5:30, or I'll be at my walk at 5:30. But yes, not everyone's a morning person, so
no,
any time of day is fine.
Now, I presume that you have to register to be part of this event?
Look, because it's virtual, you don't have to register, but we would encourage you to go to our website, which is lifelinesouthcoast.org.au. To register, we would love people to be sharing some photos or some images of their walk, and we'll also have some short videos posted on the day, just some reflections on what World Suicide Prevention Day and what creating hope through action means to different people.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for chatting to us this afternoon. Do enjoy your early morning walk on Friday. I hope you get a beautiful sunrise across somewhere in the Shoalhaven.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, absolutely. And as we heard John just mention before me, just a simple walk around the block can do so much for your mental health. So I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you so much, Renee.
Thanks, Stephen.
And that was Renee Green, the CEO of Lifeline South Coast. And if you're keen to dust off the joggers and take a bit of a virtual walk, you can head to lifelinesouthcoast.org.au/out of the shadows. Or if you head to your favourite search engine and type Out of the Shadows, you'll find all the details, and you'll be able to register your walk if you want. And as Renee said, go and do it and share some photos with your fellow walkers. And if anything in today's discussion has caused you any concern or distress, please call Lifeline on 13 11 14.
This is Tuesday Drive.